ladies on the line with us right now are really, really good at running an injectables business, which is the reason that you guys are all here. So let's welcome our co-hosts and speakers one more time, Cassie and Suze. Thank you for joining us for this webinar today.
Ooh, happy to be here.
Let's do it.
So am I, and I mentioned in my original round of intros that you are also the host of the Injectables EDU Summit, which is my personal favorite event of the year. I'll be there, you guys will be there, and we're all going to be there together 2 months from today.
I can't believe it's that close. It always sneaks
Yeah.
up on me. Every year I'm like, oh my gosh, it's almost summit time.
Exactly. It's one of the fun surprises that we get to look forward to. So for those of you on the line who have not gotten your summit ticket yet, there is so many great reasons why you should. There are going to be fantastic sessions that you can learn from, hands-on workshops that you can participate in, free headshots, CE credits, and we may or may not be giving you a little treat at the end of this webinar to make it a little easier to help you go. Ladies, is there anything else you guys want to say about Summit before I move on?
Well, someone just asked, is it online? Unfortunately, it is not. It has to be in person. And in part because so much of what we do is connecting with each other. So the content, while is amazing, the real, I think what separates it is that we spend so much time getting to know each other. It's a small conference. Anyone who's gone can tell you, like, you get to know lots of cool people who are just like you doing exactly what you're doing. And there's nothing like having that community, that one-on-one with somebody who's going through the same thing and trying to build their business and trying to get out of the clinic or hospital. It's in Orlando, Florida. It's amazing, so much fun. And people walk away with new connections. We have someone who came the first year and she calls her like her business buddy that's on the other side of the country. And they talk every day because they have connected at Summit, and even though they live totally different kinds of lives, they have been growing their businesses as friends together, which is amazing. So
Oh, I love that. And Suze, I'm pretty sure I know that you mentioned you can find your bestie at the summit, but if you already have a bestie that's an injector, you guys are offering a buy one, get one deal so people can come with their
yeah.
friends, correct?
Yeah, we have a special deal for people who there's two people that sign up, or if you want to bring someone else with your practice. Like if you have a practice manager, really great for you guys to both get the same content. Oftentimes we have two rooms running, so you can divide and conquer those rooms, which is nice. But it's also fun to bring a friend. And I'll also say that we spend a lot of extra time making sure that people can make friends once they're there. There's nothing more scary than walking into a room and you're like, I don't know anybody. We've got you. Like, we actually have something new planned that I'm really excited. That's going to help you meet some people right out of the gate so that you have someone to sit with at lunch and it becomes more fun. And when you come to our parties, because we have amazing parties with really good cocktails and a great DJ, we have pictures that you can see us dancing there. You're going to have a network of friends right out of the gate.
Yeah, we put a lot of thought into how we can create real supportive relationships that are open, and because community is such an important part of running a business, it's very isolating and only other business owners can be there for you in certain ways. So like
Mm-hmm.
when you come in, you have a seating assignment at a table. We put you in a mastermind group that we've strategically put you with. So there's a lot of thoughtful stuff that goes into helping, find those connections, because there's just as much benefit to that as there is, the takeaway KPI sheets you're going to have, all these things you're going to be ready to implement at the end. So we can't say enough good stuff about it. And I know we'll mention it a little later in this webinar too.
Yeah, don't get me into fun mode just yet because we have a webinar to do and we will get into it right now, ladies and gentlemen. The Profitable Membership Playbook for Aesthetic Practices. Cassie and Suze are going to take us through what you need to know when you are starting or just trying to improve your current membership program. Ladies, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Awesome. Suze, kick us off.
All right. So, why membership matters? We have to remember what is the fundamental purpose of a membership, and it's twofold. One, recurring revenue. We love recurring revenue. This is why the tech companies love to have subscription models, right? Because you have guaranteed revenue coming in through your practice all the time. So that's the number one purpose. So you think about that. And then the number two purpose is retention, because there's nothing like having a solid patient base that you can plan your business based on. And it is a fraction of the cost to retain a patient every year than it is to go acquire a new patient. So retention costs in the industry, somewhere around $50 a year. Client acquisition costs can be hundreds of dollars a year in marketing to go get that new customer. So everything you can do to retain is what matters. And that's why we build memberships.
Yeah, the other thing that's really important about why memberships is it ties your patient to the practice, not to you as a provider, not to any other injector or esthetician or whatever it may be. So it's really important piece where it is tying this patient directly to your practice. So they're going to have preference to come see you, even if you do have a team member leave that somebody had built trust up with, right? Or even if you're trying to transition people from your schedule onto other members of your team schedule, you're giving them that one extra incentive to, well, I can't get in Thursday. I really wanted to get in Thursday, right? Well, guess what? If I have money banked up or have a discount or something like that where I'm tied and incentivized to come into the business, then I'm much more likely to continue to come see you. Even if there's some sort of small little hurdle or hassle, I'm going to keep coming here, which is important. We know members spend more money.
That's true.
Show this. We know members come visit your office more often. So while this is not number one in membership, and we talk a lot about marketing, the marketing pyramid and what order we recommend doing things, membership is definitely included there, right? It's not what you're doing day one right out of the gate, but as soon as it makes sense, this is a really smart thing to incorporate into your practice.
Agreed. All right. So defining your program goals. This is where people kind of get lost in where do I start when they're planning their membership plan. So a lot of times what I see is people get really complicated. Well, but I want to have a membership that offers this person this thing and this person this thing. And they create a bunch of different membership options. And nothing kills a membership like complexity. If it isn't able to be explained in one line, simple, transparent, people will push back because they don't understand it. They have to do the math, and we all know how mathy everyone is. It needs to be so clearly obvious that this is a great plan for this patient that they can't help but do it. So the goal is to keep it simple and to keep people coming back and spending money. Cassie, you want to add anything?
No, I think well said. And a lot of stuff we already mentioned, tie them to your business instead of a specific provider. Because I don't know, have you had a injector leave and go up the street and start their own thing? Because I
sure have. You haven't been in the business long enough if you haven't had that happen. Yes, it's a matter of if not, or when, not if. And we also know statistically, for those of you that have this happen, that even your best injector, if they leave, on average, they take maybe 25% of their clients with them. 75% stay with that practice. So please know it's not the end of the world if someone leaves. People are real creatures of habit, and they're tied to a location and a experience more than a person. And people that are injectors, bless them, however, they often inflate their ability to go attract those patients away from the practice unless it's really, really bad. And I know since you're an injectables EDU, you don't have a bad practice. They don't really want to leave you, right? And this is an injector who is, got kind of big for their britches, and they think they're going to go do it for themselves. And maybe they will, but we all know how hard it is. Yeah.
Those are the days when you're like, I must be making it look easy, because we all know here on this one this is not. And it makes me think about, I think it's important to be able to trust your team. And by having these types of things in place, that allows you want to believe in your team and trust them and let them be on social media and all the things. And so something as small as a membership that is really tying your patient with this contract to your business is important, and allows you to, having the proper paperwork, contracts and stuff in place allows you to show up in the most positive, trusting way that you want to be. Yep. So common membership models, I know both Suzanne and I have landed on a similar one, but we'll still talk through a couple good options. You want to either have just one join our VIP or have 3 tiers. The idea with 3 tiers is that you expect most people to kind of land in the middle. I started out with a membership model that was way too complicated. I made the rookie mistake, revamped it, went to a 3 tier, and then we've revamped it again just to have a single VIP kind of type membership, which has worked well for us. The simpler it is, the better, right? So for me to explain my membership, it's, hey, we have a great membership. We call it a beauty savings account where you can bank up money. And when you come in 3 months, you'll have $300 banked up for you to use, and it unlocks 5% discount on everything, retail and services. Really, it's just saving you money. It's a thank you for being a loyal patient with us. And it's a great budgeting tool, right? I mean, I went into multiple like reasons why you should do it, but the explanation of what it does is it's a beauty savings account where you bank your own money and it's waiting here for you. The money's always yours. The discount's only yours as long as you're a model. So, or as long as you're a current member. So as simple as possible. I do also really like the idea of memberships where maybe it, for example, our wellness membership doesn't bank. It unlocks certain perks like, you know, unlimited in-office appointments, an in-body, a mix shot, you know, us calling in certain prescriptions or access to purchasing vials through us and such. So it is very ideal to have memberships where the money doesn't necessarily bank because that is building up liability. But I think patients have the most trust in, okay, so I just save the money here and it's like an HSA account and it's waiting for me. But say you offer facials or something or different options of like, if you pay this much, you get one facial a month or this many a year. Or you can also say, if you pay XYZ, you get this amount of discount. I think those things start to get more complicated and a little bit less trustworthy from the consumer side. So, Suze, what do you think about that? Because I threw out multiple different options.
Yeah, no, we also have the beauty bank situation, and we also lowered the cost of it because people were banking too much money, and you touched on the point that that carries liability, right? If you've got $50,000 in people's banks, banks, imagine if all those people came in 1 month, you'd have a cash flow problem unless you are like putting that into a little savings account and not realizing and not bringing that into your regular bank account, your cash flow until those services are rendered, which is actually like what attorneys do. Or when you buy a house, it's called an escrow account. So if you want to be super duper fancy, and I'm going into the weeds here a little bit, you put your membership money into an escrow account, which is just a holding account, and then you move it over as people use it. And that way you always make sure you have money there to cover the fact that people are using it. But once you're established and you're doing it regularly, we know that about a third of the beauty bank money gets used every month, and that's pretty predictable. We also have the subscription like access kind of account where it's just for people getting prescription services. So they're not banking anything. They're paying for the time and access to provide BHRT or weight loss. And that doesn't make sense to bank because they're coming in for specific services like tox or for a facial or for a laser or something like that. But they're using our time as providers to provide that service. So it deserves a different model.
Yeah. And I'm seeing a question come in. Do I have kind of this self-care savings and a wellness? These are two separate programs.
Yep.
We actually do also have a combination one that combines self-care savings and our wellness membership. But I mean, definitely the most ideal is if you have somebody paying an ongoing fee that they don't bank. It's just going into that, like your Netflix subscription, right? But
Yeah.
like I said, patients are going to be prone to feeling like that's stacked against them, right? Like you just want to make sure that they feel they're getting the value out of that. So if you have a massage envy thing and you're supposed to get a massage once a month, but you haven't been in 6 months, like, are you going to feel happy with your experience there? No. So we have both found that just like the banking strategy seems to be the simplest, the most trustworthy, and had the best success in our practice. It's not the only way to do it, but whatever you set up, if you can't explain it in one sentence, then it's not a good thing. And Suzanne has had to talk me off the sledge. I had some really like I was going to name different.
It was fancy
after like different famous people. Like I had like the J Lo, the Jennifer Aniston, like the T Swift. Like it was cute, but it was way too confusing and all that. So sometimes that's why it is great to have community, because Suzanne was like, while that is entertaining, that's a terrible idea. So
Well, we're going to get into common mistakes in a couple slides, and then we'll go through those ones. I know I want to jump the gun too on that. You're like, don't do X, Y, Z.
all
All
right, so
right.
you take that.
So structuring so what makes a membership profitable? When you really have to sit down with your pencil and calculator or spreadsheet or Claude or ChatGPT when you are planning out your membership, because there have been times where I've consulted with people and they have deeply discounted so aggressively that they're not making any money. And the point is not to discount your services dramatically. It's to offer a benefit or a deal, but it's not to discount. So for instance, in our practice, we make sure that our premium price for talks, we charge $15 and members get $14. We charge $8.50 a syringe and members get $50 off a syringe. When we sell non-consumable packages like a laser that doesn't use a tip or anything like that, they get more off on that than one that has a consumable. And we have it listed out, so it's really transparent. But the point is you figure out what your revenue per hour is, what your costs are, and what it takes to still make money on those services, even at that lower cost, and that you're maintaining profitability. There is no way around it except mathing it out. And if you don't math it out, you're going to find out you've made a mistake. We've recently realized that our cost for our hydrofacial has gone up. And payroll's gone up. And so we had to increase the cost of our membership hydrofacial, which sucks. No one wants to do that. On the other hand, we weren't hitting margins anymore. And you can't sit around losing money. That's called a loss leader. And the only way a loss leader works, where you're deliberately losing money on an item like the Costco chicken or the Costco hot dogs, those are loss leaders because they get you in the door, get you through Costco. You go buy the $5 chicken. They lose money on every chicken, but they're hoping you pick up 18 other things because it's Costco. That is a strategy, but we can't do that in med spa land. We just don't have the equivalent of a Costco chicken in the back. I'm sorry. I wish we did. That is
Yeah,
a
and
terrible analogy.
if you hear anybody say, I think it's a great analogy. If you hear anybody say, Tox is a loss leader, I want you to
Run.
run the other direction. The most profitable thing in my business is neurotoxin. So if you're looking at your books and that's not the case, come to Summit. If when Suzanne
Yeah.
was talking about calculating pricing and percentages and cost of goods and all that, and you were like, I wonder how I should do that, or I'm not doing that, come to Summit. This is completely
Yeah.
what we focus on, because what I see too often is people looking at so and so up the street. Well, how do they have their membership, or how do they price their neurotoxin? And the problem is that person probably doesn't have any more business acumen. You're giving them credit that's probably not due. So
Hmm.
when I'm pricing things, it is very structured about how I do these things. It's based on my cost of goods. It's based on my cost of labor. It is also looking at
Hmm.
what the market can bear. And I'm taking into account, okay, well, when somebody gets 5% off because, I have 400 members, how is that is it still going to be profitable? So you're going to walk away from Summit with a KPI sheet where you dump in your actual numbers. So you will walk away with that information. These are not numbers where you're like stabbing in the dark of like,
No.
how do I set up my membership? This isn't a stab in the dark because I do it this way or Suzanne does it or it sounds good. This is like a very well and thoughtfully calculated out plan.
Absolutely. Someone asked, can you combine it with Ally and whatnot? Absolutely, right? Because those are reimbursed rewards. And in fact, when you go to your accountant, and this is something I'm going to, again, go a little bit in the weeds here, but also is a thing that, again, we talk about this sort of stuff at Summit too, is that in our accounting, we make sure that we take the discounts we get from Evolus, from Galderma, from Ally, and those are actually accounts receivable because you're getting reimbursed in either product or actual dollar bills. So those are not discounts. You're not like losing money on offering those services or offering those discounts because they are reimbursed. So, and you want to break those out when you're doing your accounting, and your bookkeeper and your accountant can help you with that. But absolutely utilize those programs to their full benefit. And then can you use it for telehealth? So it depends on what kind of I mean, if you're doing a wellness sort of thing and you're giving access to your time, like Cassie does, like unlimited messages to your office regarding, hormones or weight loss or whatever, absolutely, you can offer that as a membership. Because if you're willing to be immediately available to answer those questions, for sure, you're selling access to your time. Yeah.
All right, what do we have next, Chelsea?
All right. Sue's your favorite part.
Yeah, common mistakes. Although Cassie was running with it. You want to take it?
Yeah, I think even when you get this great advice, like Suzanne told me before I made mine, don't make it too complicated. And what did I do? I decided that I was going to reinvent the wheel and that I had a really genius idea. And, it just not keeping it simple is the biggest mistake. Not thoughtfully doing the math to make sure that when a member engages in whatever service or product, that it's still profitable. Those are the biggest mistakes. Is there anything else that you can think of, Suze?
Yeah, one of the ones that I see a lot of are that the memberships are really specifically defined, as in you get one membership a month, or you get one facial a month, you get 10 units of Botox. I highly, highly discourage you tying a specific good service product and a time frame to your membership. It is often a disaster because imagine if they stack up, I'm out of town and I don't get my facial, and then they lose their facial and they come in and they're like, well, now I'm mad, right? It's use it or lose it, because you can't have someone stack up 18 facials. Also, you need to realize that in various states, there's laws around whether or not what you can do as far as refunds and whatnot. So say you have someone ghost you and you haven't seen them in 3 years. In Oregon, for example, they have up to 5 years to come get their service, right? So if you can imagine that they've banked up, whatever they've banked up, you still owe that patient until 5 years, in which case you can write it off your books. So be thoughtful about, I would just highly discourage not tying a specific good like 5 units or a specific service and a time frame to your membership.
Yeah, and if you go to piggybacking on that, when and if you decide to sell your practice, all the liability that have been built up and money you've taken in, they're going to see that as a negative. They're going to see that for what it is, which is money that's been paid out that you still owe services on, which is great. It's genius, because the hardest thing to do is to get people to pay, right? So by getting that out of the way first is really smart, and getting it on auto renew is genius. One thing I do, and I know Suzanne does not do this, at least I don't think so, is we do a 1 year commitment to our membership. Because, and we will still make exceptions and all that, but why do I think that way, right? I started my business right at the beginning of COVID. So this idea that your business could completely shut down for months on end is very real. We've lived through that. So Suzanne was the one that pointed out to me, ideally your membership should cover your rent plus your payroll. So if for some reason, if there is some unforeseen reason why your business is shut down for months on end, whether it's a nationwide thing like a COVID or something as terrible as a fire, you want to be able to pay, your people and cover expenses. So I like the 1 year commitment as well, because I think that's one more thing that ties them to your business for a certain amount of time that would kind of prevent a bunch of people from pulling out of your membership all at one time.
Yeah. And I think you really have to know your patient population. So what works in Virginia doesn't work in Oregon. I mean, we have very different political climates, we have different mentalities. And in Oregon, it's like, don't, I don't want to be boxed in. So just by even suggesting that there's like this time frame, people were reticent. And yet we have very little turnover most of the time, and we keep a track. And I highly recommend you keep a track of your cancellations. So every time someone does cancel, why is it that they're canceling? Very often it's moving, lost a job, pregnant, all reasons that I'm not going to get bent out of shape for them, putting their membership on hold or canceling. So keep track, because you really don't want to hear, well, because you're shit at what you do, or I could never get an appointment, or I don't love how my Botox looks. I've never had that happen, although people never want to tell you really why they're necessarily leaving. But most of the time, if they really have a piece of their mind, they'll share it with you. Cool.
That you could
Ma-
measuring success, I think that's a great one. Like what sort of, how much are people continuing with it? Like what is your growth rate? It's not,
Mhm.
when you're looking at growth of your membership program, it's a double-edged sword. It's not just getting new people. It's not losing your established people as well.
Mhm.
And I think we get very focused on getting the new signups, whereas it's easy to not notice or not think as much about the kind of silently losing people on the other end. I've
Mhm.
actually found that I feel like attrition is higher for my membership than I would like it to be. So we're currently digging into like, well, why do we think that is? What can we do? What are we doing if somebody says, hey, I've had some financial stuff come up, I want to stop. Do we maybe say, hey, totally understand that. Do you want us to hit pause on your membership for 3 months and get
Mhm.
it restarted for you? Right? How much, just a little bit of support and more understanding of why is this person um, wanting to stop the program. But I know that's been a pitfall we've fallen into in the past, is being so focused on new memberships that we, like, the silent killer was losing. And it can't be
Mhm.
as simple as like they miss a payment, it tries to charge their card multiple times, and then they're out of your program, right? And so just really following up on both ends.
Yeah, agreed. And I think one thing too that is a real easy lift for when you have empty books or you want to try to, fill in some gaps is to go cultivate, look at who has the biggest money amount of money in their bank in their, beauty bank and then start reaching out. Hey,
Mhm.
you have $1,500, girl math, that's going to feel free when you come in to get your XYZ. It's a really good, and we quarterly go through and print out, essentially we don't print out, I am so Gen X, I'm sorry, we still, they laugh at me how much I print shit still. um that you go and you look at your list, like who hasn't been in the last 3 to 4 months, who has the most amount, and you go reach out to those people and you fill your books with those people so that you keep your liability down and your books building. We also measure, we have a goal of how many memberships we want to get every week. So we want 3 new members every week. So that's 12 every month. And when you do that, I think people have heard that 1% better sort of thing. When you strive for that 1% better and you grow your membership 1% a month, that's 13% over a year. And that compounds. That compounds. This is just like saving for your retirement. And if you are doing that, you're growing at 12 memberships a month, for example, but you're only losing, one of those a month. So 11, say 11 people. You can math at what point your business is going to be a $1 million business, a $3 million business. The sky's the limit if you keep leaning into that and you have a like can't fail success path, which is like the most beautiful thing in business, to have something that you can kind of hang your hat on. Is if I grow these memberships and these people continue to come see me, I will be a success.
Yeah. And we actually incentive, you probably do this as well, but we kind of have little bonuses tied to how many for our front desk people, tied to how many memberships, membership growth, how many
Yeah,
they're getting, how many we're not losing type of deal. And so it just is a real easy, measurable motivator there for them.
absolutely.
All right, ladies, that was so much good information. Thank you so much. And now we are back to my personal favorite topic, Summit, where we're going to cover memberships and even more. Could you guys tell me what are some of the sessions or new workshop that you guys are most excited about us having at the Summit this year?
One
Well,
of,
oh,
oh,
go ahead.
so one of my, I did want to point out, since we already talked about this, I mean, one of my like absolute tried and true is going to be revenue pie, where we just talk about for every dollar that comes into your business in revenue, that meaning whatever a patient pays you, where should that dollar go? So if you're making 50K a year in revenue, where giving you actual dollar amount and percentages of like, this is how much you should be spending on your rent. So you can actually plug and play your numbers. That's the most helpful thing that guides me in my practice day in and day out. But we're bringing in some really cool stuff, like BHRT is something that Suzanne and I have brought into our practices, and it's getting a lot of definitely a lot of hype, and it is great, but it's real easy to not make money with BHRT. Well, this is more difficult to lift up in your practice than you think. So that one, definitely some guidance on that front is super important, and we have really the experts coming in to speak on that. um
Yeah,
What else
we
do?
have a great new speaker. Audrey Neff is coming. She is, you should Google her, and she has a podcast that you can listen to that's all about the business of aesthetics. And she talks to so many people. She has a huge, she's not a business owner. She's been working in the industry for, I don't know, 15 years. Encyclopedic knowledge of how best practices for med spas. And she'll be our keynote speaker and also available just to talk to you about stuff. And together we'll be leading something about how building to sell. So a lot of you may have not even thought about that. You're just getting started. But because you're at this starting point, you're in this really lucky position to be able to still pivot and make decisions to build a practice that becomes an asset, not just another job. So I love talking about that. It's a passion of mine. Also, I have a whole talk on AI, right? I've been using AI since 2020, and it's really evolved over that time. And I mean, it is now just ridiculous what's happening with it. And I am no tech genius. However, I use it constantly, and I can't wait to share with you like what I'm going to be doing with it, how I use it, how I don't use it sometimes, what it's not appropriate for or where it drops the ball. Um, and I'm not going to teach you to code or anything like that, but just some real like tips and tricks of ways that you can have it help you in your day to day.
Yeah, we have some cool one-on-one things we're offering this year. So we
Mhm.
always offer mastermind group, which is where you get in and you live workshop. Some things are actually going on in your practice. So it's a structured thing, but it's more of like a free zone to really dig into whatever's top of mind for you in your practice. And we're strategically putting you with other people who we think is going to be in a similar place to you. Um,
Mhm.
and we're doing these one-on-ones, which is new this year, where you're going to have opportunity to sit down one-on-one with Megan Reed, who does marketing. She's our amazing marketing speaker. She has done so many aesthetic websites. She, knows that like the back of her hand. So she can either talk to you about your website needs or analyze your website. We're trying to get one-on-ones even with like the legal team. We have Langia Law
Mhm.
that's going to be there talking about compliance, GLP-1, peptides. There's all these crackdowns happening, New York, Indiana. So like, these are the
Mhm.
compliance experts. And the amazing thing about this is with such a small conference, like you can grab them and be like, hey, I was thinking this. You didn't mention this in your talk. I mean, they are really so involved in it. It's the reason we did Summit is we do see a need and a hole here. There is so many conferences, but I personally have gotten burned out on aesthetics conferences going. I feel like people are there to be seen, not to truly connect. And, we're looking for an environment where we realize that the NP next to us is your best asset and support, not, the enemy. In my opinion, some of these bigger forces like pharmaceutical companies, device companies, which are necessary, right? They shouldn't be the number one person guiding you in your decisions. That
Mhm.
should come from other places. So there's still a really big need, I think, for this type of small format for nurses and nurse practitioners who are, whether you're doing a side gig or you have a small practice, you're in your first 5 years, this is where you should be.
Yeah.
Yay, I'm very excited. But what I am most excited about at the current moment is that we are offering 400 off for everyone who's on this webinar, our webinar last week, or our webinar next week. You get 400 off your summit ticket. It's our summit founders rate. This makes me feel like Oprah. Everybody, well, actually, not everybody gets it because we actually only have 35 seats now available at this price. So let me walk that back a little bit, you guys. They're going quickly. Last week we had 50 seats left at this price, and this week we have 35. So this special will run out when those 35 seats run up, or February 28th, whichever one comes first. The code is right here in this slide deck if you guys want to screenshot that and get over to the Summit website right now and lock down your ticket. Or we'll also be sending out that information in our follow-up email afterwards. But either way, we talked about girl math earlier. $400 off is basically free, I think is how that shakes out.
Totally.
So, I mean, you can't really get a better deal than that. So please take
Let's
advantage of it.
I
Go
want you
ahead.
to think about your investment in Summit as money saved from making enormous mistakes because like just even saving you on a website, the average person goes through 5 websites before they land on a good website. Like each time you build that, it's, anywhere from as low as maybe $3,500 at the bottom for a professional up to 20, $30,000 per website. So investing in knowing and avoiding really, really big mistakes is like priceless.
We're going to tell you which devices not to buy and which devices you should buy. That's where that, yeah.
Yeah, I have $100,000 paperweight in the back of my office.
Woof.
I wish I had my money back.
And I love it because, at Summit we get such a nice mix of people in so many different places in their career, people who are just starting or people who are, relatively established but just really looking for how to grow. And so I think if there's anybody on this line who is still kind of towing the line of, is Summit right for me? Is Summit not right for me? Cassie and Suzanne do offer a free call where you guys can ask them
Mhm.
questions about Summit and just make sure that, it's worth the investment for you. So if you are on the fence, please schedule a call with one of the ladies. Spoiler alert, it is going to be worth it, but sometimes it feels good to double check.
Yeah, we love it. People call and ask, is this the right thing for me? And sometimes, you know what? We might say no. We might actually say, no, you're not at the right spot to take advantage of that. Like, I think we're known for being really transparent and honest because we want it to, we, that, again, this is our passion project. Yes, it needs to make money because we need to pay for all the things that we do, but really, we just love what we do here.
Erica says, where could we identify if it's right for us? I will tell you the person that this is intended for. It is,
Right.
you've already taken your intro to Botox class. You've taken
Mhm.
your very first class at minimum. If you haven't taken your first class at minimum, guess what? You still have time to take the injectables EDU neurotoxin foundational class before Summit. So at Summit, we offer some advanced clinical stuff. We offer an advanced Botox hands-on class. We offer an under eye PRP class that are optional add-ons for Friday. So you need to have taken your introductory class. You can be like, I'm just still trying to get started. I'm just opening my LLC. That's completely fine. But we want you to have been exposed to the basic information. And our expectation is this is mostly for people who are nurses and nurse practitioners in your first 5 years of having a side gig or your full-time gig that you are trying to grow. So that's why we have two different tracks. We have your nail it track, which is, hey, I've taken my intro class, but I'm really still in the beginning stages here, right? I'm in my first year or two. Then we have our scale it track, which is great. I have a very robust side gig, or I've already gone full time into my own practice. Now I really want to dig into growing, and I want to know how to compensate my team, and I want to understand, I'm thinking about benefits, and I'm thinking about how I might want to sell down the road, or I've already got hundreds if not 1,000 plus hopefully patients, and I'm really interested in buying and making an investment into that laser. So that's kind of the window. If that describes you and what I just said, then there is nothing better to do than be at this conference.
Mhm.
It's aesthetic. Crystal just asked, is this just for Botox? I have an IV hydration. IV hydration is fine. Any cash based kind of, but we lean into aesthetics, right? Like that is our focus. So if you're interested in eventually adding on Botox, sure. And it's fine for IV therapy as well, because all of these foundational ideas are going to apply to any cash based practice. Any
Yep.
questions I missed in the chat box? Um, no, I don't see any coming through. So hopefully that gives you a really specific idea of who this conference is made for, to feel really safe and strong to be like, all right, I'm doing it. I'm getting my ticket.
It's gonna be worth it. All right, and now we are at our Q&A section. You guys did such a great job at pulling the questions live as we were going through. I don't think I have many on my list that are unanswered. I do have one here. Ladies, what EMR could you recommend that has the ability to track and charge for your membership program?
Yeah, so virtually any med spa specific EMR is designed to do this. Now, some of them have various functionalities and some don't do Beauty Bank per se. And Beauty Bank means that you pay, say, $99 a month, that gets banked with you into your little wallet so that when you check out, that $99 is there for the patient to use and confers discounts, right? So that functionality may or may not be available. Almost all of them have a membership where it's going to auto draw the money. Adding it to the wallet can be sometimes tricky, or it ties it to a specific good or service, that amount. So you have to ask your questions. We really recommend Jane and Prosper or to go to MedSpa softwares. Um, you can run memberships even through something like Square, which I don't love, but you can do it. Um, yeah,
My recommendation is try to work with whatever your EMR offers because it's
yes.
hard to fit that square peg into a round hole. So unfortunately with memberships, if you're not considering changing EMRs, try not to be like, don't try and retrofit. Like, this is what I wish I could do
Yeah,
and retrofit it to your EMR. I've made that mistake. Instead,
we
see
have to.
what your EMR is built to do and then utilize that. It will be so much more automated and save you a lot of manual work.
Yeah, we tried for a while to run it through Square, and then we manually inputted it into a separate system. And I do no stars. Do not recommend.
Yeah.
All right. Well, unless any last minute
Oh, I
questions.
do see one more. What is your beauty bank dollar amounts? Okay, so we started at 179. Um, because that was the cost of a hydrofacial. And then if people got tox, that would cover every 3 months about what our average person used in tox. What we found was, while that was a really nice amount and some people like banking it, what has crushed it is doing a $99 one because it feels like a no-brainer. Um, they don't feel like it's too high an amount that they're going to really hurt their bank account at the end of the month. Like it doesn't feel bad. And then to have that money sitting there is awesome. And it also decreases our overall liability. So while we're bringing in less money every month, we've had a real big uptick in people signing up, and it feels really good. So
Fantastic. All right. Well, ladies, I think that does it for our webinar today. Thanks to the both of you for being here with us. And thank you to everyone on the line who took some time out of their day to join us. As a reminder, we will have an email coming to you shortly with your next steps. We will have a link for you to join our private Facebook group, a link to our free resources page on Injectables EDU, and a link to sign up for your free mentor call if you have any questions. And most importantly, your discount code for Summit. So all of the above will be coming to you shortly, as well as your replay. And that does it for our webinar today. We will see you guys with another webinar next week.
See you guys
thank
then. Thank
you.
you all.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys. Have a good one, and thank you for joining us.